What is going on, everybody? I am back today because if you saw my video recently, I reviewed Hell House LLC Part 2. And the reason why I'm doing this is because Stephen Cognetti's new film, Hell House Lineage, is being released very soon. And I am a huge fan of this franchise. The original Hell House LLC movie is one of my favorite found footage films of all time. I think it perfectly encapsulates what makes the medium so incredibly special. And I reviewed Part 2 recently. You can go back and watch that. I didn't do a re-review of the first movie. I released that review a couple years ago. I feel like it's still my thoughts are still incredibly relevant. I've watched it recently, but I don't think things have changed very much since then, so I thought that it was fine to just leave up the old review. But I did rewatch the second movie and was kind of surprised because I hadn't seen it since its initial release, and I actually liked it a lot more this time, and I kind of go into my thoughts a little bit more in that review. But with the third movie here, this was the one I liked the least initially, and I did not remember virtually anything about this movie whatsoever. And I think if what I've read online is correct, the character from this movie plays a part in the newest film. So I'm actually glad that I went back and watched it because my memory of this was absolutely zero. And today I'm going to be telling you about Hell House LLC 3 Lake of Fire. Hell House LLC III Lake of Fire is directed by Stephen Cognetti. Set 1 year after the events of Hell House LLC II, the hotel is on the verge of being torn down when it is purchased by billionaire Russell Wynn as the new home for his popular interactive show Insomnia. He invites journalist Vanessa Shepard and her crew to record everything happening inside the hotel leading up to the performance, but they soon encounter a more nefarious plot, one that threatens to unleash veritable hell on Earth. So I was really excited to watch this. Like I said, I did not remember this movie hardly at all from my initial watch. And with how much more I enjoyed the second one on the revisit, I was curious to see if that would be the same scenario this time. And I'm sure part of this is because of just how much I love the series. I think I liked it a little bit more than my initial rewatch, but I still definitely think this is the worst of the franchise. I enjoy what they add into it when it comes to the lore of the film, and I think there's some little tiny things here and there that are interesting to check out, but this movie relies way too heavily on re-showing footage from the previous two films just over and over and over again. One of the things that I love about the first two movies is how many great setups there are and how many amazing scares there are throughout the movies. And this one in particular just felt so reliant on consistently referencing things from the original movies without like setting up something new and unique on its own. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more with you today as I break the movie down. So that plot description breaks this down brilliantly. The Abaddon is on the verge of, being shut down for forever, but it is purchased by a millionaire, Russell Wynn, who is running a new show out of it called Insomnia, which is like an interactive stage performance, and he's put a ton of time and money and energy into the performance. We learn early on about him too. He has all these different ventures that he invests in, wine that everybody thinks doesn't taste very good, and he invites this journalist Vanessa to come just have a full, complete, and total transparent view into the production of the show and being able to come into the Abaddon and sort of film it all because people are sort of perplexed with all of the horrible things that have happened there previously, why you would want to choose this place in particular to put on your production. Well, of course, they get in there and things start to spiral out of control. Members of the cast start seeing things out of the corner of their eye, weird things start to happen, and the film is just this group of people working on this production and Vanessa and her crew that are there filming it, experiencing the horrors of the Abaddon Hotel in real time. So, like I said, this movie is definitely the worst of the franchise. I'm looking forward to revisiting Carmichael Manor, even though it hasn't been that long since I've watched it. But this is definitely the worst of the original three. But I will say, for some positives, I like Vanessa's character. I don't think she's nearly as interesting as a lot of the, lead characters were in the other films, but I still think she does a really excellent job with the material that she's given. I also like a lot of the cast members that are in the Insomnia production. I just think they added a lot of personality to it, and they have like really overblown personalities, which makes it really interesting to watch and see how they interact with one another on screen. That was one of my favorite parts of the movie. Just some of the comedic absurdity of the way that they interacted with one another. The actor who plays Russell Wynn, the billionaire, he does a really solid job with the material he's given. But the issue that I had with his performance is that they gave him this like fake scar on his face, and it's really just like hard to not pay attention to. It doesn't look realistic. The practical effects, which is kind of wild because Cognetti does a really incredible job with most of the practical effects in his movies, and I just don't feel like it added much to his character. I think they could have just left that out and the movie would have been exactly the same. And similar to what I said about the second movie, not all of the performances in this are great. Some of them are a little much, and as you're watching, you're like, okay, you're really laying it on here. You probably could reserve it and pull it back a little bit, which it is what it is. You just kind of deal with it in these certain circumstances when you're not having the best actors in your movie because you're just, utilizing the resources that you have. I do like some of the set pieces here. There were two really amazing moments in this movie that I feel like rival some of the scares in the first two films. But the problem is, outside of a couple of scenes, this isn't nearly as scary as either one of the first movies. And I feel like so much more of this is the setup rather than like in the first Hell House, everything is like setting up to the event, but there's so much that happens throughout the entire runtime of that movie that keeps you on the edge of your seat. And I feel like there's just too many pockets of things that don't really matter all that much. And the way they build up Wynn's character and his involvement in the situation and the reveal they're trying to go for, I don't necessarily think that it works perfectly. But I am glad that there are still elements of what make Cognetti such an incredibly talented filmmaker throughout this. I just wanted more, which leads to my issue. There is so much of a reliance in this movie on flashing back to the things in the previous films. And I understand this is the third installment in your franchise and you're worried possibly that people may have not seen the movie or those type of things, but it's just a little bit too much. Like some of the cutbacks, anytime they would enter a room, I feel like you'd get like camera static and then you'd get a visual of like something that happened in the first or the second movie. And it, like, especially the first like 25 minutes of this movie, I just felt like it kept happening over and over and over again, and I was getting a little tired of it. And like I said, the interactions between the characters, there's some really great moments, but I feel like it just wasn't nearly as interesting. And even the lore that they add to the Abaddon, I really liked some of the reveals at the very end of the movie, and I thought that that was really great. But like the build up there's not as much as there is in the first and second movie to really make this feel like a worthwhile installment in the franchise. Like I think if you're a fan of the franchise, you can find something to appreciate with it. But if you're not a big found footage fan, you'd absolutely hate this because I feel like it's a little bit tedious to get through. But I think if you are a completist, you want to watch all these movies, it's definitely worth checking out solely for that reason. But if I was revisiting this franchise, I'd probably skip this one. Have you seen Hell House LLC 3, Lake of Fire? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I was not a huge fan of this movie. This is definitely the worst film in the franchise. I feel like it just has so much padded runtime that really doesn't go anywhere, but there's still some moments that remind you why you appreciate the series. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.